Not all heroes wear capes. Some walk on four paws with hearts full of loyalty and bravery. Rex wasn't just a police dog, he was my partner, my protector, and my best friend. After years of service, his time was coming to an end. But none of us could have known that his last mission would be the one that defined his legacy forever. This is the story of Rex's ultimate sacrifice. A story of courage, loyalty, and the bond that goes beyond life itself. Before we dive into Rex's incredible journey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. We bring you inspiring stories that celebrate the unbreakable bond between humans and their canine companions, and this one is truly unforgettable. Rex wasn't just any dog, he was a legend. A towering German Shepherd with sharp instincts and a heart of gold. He had served alongside me for nearly a decade in the K9 unit. Together, we had faced countless challenges, from tracking down fugitives to sniffing out dangerous substances. But more than his skills, it was Rex's unwavering loyalty that made him the best partner I could have ever asked for. I'll never forget the first day I met him. He was just a pup, all gangly legs and oversized ears, but even then his eyes carried a quiet intelligence. "This one's special," the trainer had said, and they weren't wrong. It didn't take long for Rex to outshine the other dogs in his class, earning top marks in obedience, tracking, and agility. By the time he graduated, he was already a force to be reckoned with. Over the years, Rex and I became inseparable. He wasn't just my partner on the job, he was my family. He had a knack for sensing when I was down, nudging me with his nose until I gave in and scratched behind his ears. At home, he was gentle with my kids, letting them climb all over him without a single complaint. But the moment we put on the uniform, Rex transformed into a focused and fearless officer, ready to take on whatever came our way. Now at 10 years old, Rex was nearing the end of his career. His once black muzzle had turned gray, and his movements were slower than they used to be. The department had already started talking about his retirement, and while I knew it was the right thing for him, the thought of losing him as a partner was something I couldn't bear. He wasn't just a dog, he was my anchor in a chaotic world. One crisp morning, as we were finishing our routine patrol, my commanding officer called me into his office. "Tom, it's time to start thinking about Rex's retirement," he said gently. "He's given us more than anyone could have asked for, but he needs to rest now." I nodded, the words hitting me harder than I expected. "I understand," I replied, though my heart felt heavy. As if sensing my mood, Rex trotted over to me, his tail wagging slowly. I knelt down and scratched behind his ears, forcing a smile. "What do you think, buddy? Ready for some relaxation?" He responded with a playful bark, his eyes full of the same spark that had carried us through years of service. That evening, I sat on the couch, with Rex lying at my feet, his head resting on my boot. My kids were playing in the background, their laughter filling the room. But my mind was elsewhere. How do you say goodbye to a partner like Rex? How do you thank someone who has risked everything for you, time and time again? As I stroked his fur, I made a silent promise to myself and to him. I would make sure his last days as an officer were filled with purpose and pride. What I didn't know was that his final mission was just around the corner, and it would be one that none of us would ever forget. The day began like any other. Rex and I were patrolling the city, enjoying the crisp morning air and the quiet hum of a community starting its day. For a dog nearing retirement, Rex still had that spark. The way his ears perked up at the faintest sound, the way his nose twitched as he caught new scents in the wind. I could tell he wasn't ready to slow down just yet. We were halfway through our route when the call came in. "All units, we have a report of a fire in a residential building on Elm Street. Multiple civilians trapped, possible hostages." My heart sank. A fire was bad enough, but hostages. That meant someone had set this intentionally, putting innocent lives at risk. Rex, always attuned to the shift in my energy, sat up straight in the passenger seat. "You ready for this, buddy?" I asked, glancing at him. He let out a short bark, his tail wagging once. He was always ready. As we arrived at the scene, chaos greeted us. Thick, black smoke billowed from the upper floors of the building, and the sound of sirens filled the air. Firefighters were battling the flames, while officers coordinated the evacuation of residents. Through the haze, I saw the building manager gesturing frantically toward one of the officers. "They're still in there," he shouted. "A family on the third floor, 2 kids and their parents. They couldn't get out in time." My stomach twisted. Every second counted, and the smoke was growing thicker by the minute. Rex and I moved quickly, weaving through the crowd toward the entrance. "Carter, are you sure about this?" my commanding officer asked, his voice laced with concern. "We don't have a choice," I replied, glancing down at Rex. "We've got this." As soon as we entered the building, the heat hit us like a wall. The air was thick and suffocating, and visibility was near zero. Rex pressed close to my side, his body tense but focused. "Find them, Rex," I said, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. He sniffed the air, his ears swiveling as he picked up the faintest of sounds. Then, with a determined bark, he darted forward. Leading the way through the smoke-filled corridors, I followed close behind, trusting him completely. The first thing we found was a child, a little girl huddled in a corner, coughing and crying. Rex reached her first, nuzzling her gently to reassure her. I scooped her up in my arms. "We've got you," I said, my voice muffled by the mask. "Where's your family, but—" She pointed weakly toward a door at the end of the hall. Rex was already on it, pawing at the door and barking urgently. I kicked it open, revealing a young boy and 2 adults struggling to breathe. The relief in their eyes was immediate as they saw us. "Stay close," I instructed, motioning for them to follow me. With Rex leading the way, we navigated back through the thick smoke, every step feeling heavier as the heat intensified. The building groaned ominously, the structure weakening with each passing second. Just as we reached the stairwell, a deafening crack echoed through the building. Part of the ceiling collapsed behind us, cutting off our escape route. Panic threatened to take hold, but Rex stayed calm, his steady presence anchoring me. He nudged me toward a side door, a route I hadn't noticed before. We pushed forward, finally bursting out into the fresh air where firefighters and medics were waiting. The family clung to each other, tears streaming down their faces as they thanked us over and over. Ratkin, ever the professional, sat calmly by my side, his tail wagging faintly. "You did good, buddy," I said, kneeling down to scratch behind his ears. He leaned into my touch, his eyes meeting mine with the quiet understanding that had always been our unspoken language. But the night wasn't over yet. As I looked back at the burning building, a feeling of dread settled in my chest. There was still more to be done, and Rex wasn't finished. The chaos outside the burning building was deafening. Firefighters shouting commands, neighbors crying out for loved ones, and sirens blaring in the distance. But all I could hear was the pounding of my own heartbeat as I stood beside Rex, catching my breath. The family we'd saved was safely in the hands of the paramedics, but there was still work to be done. One of the firefighters rushed over, his face streaked with soot and urgency in his eyes. "We've got reports of a maintenance worker still inside on the 2nd floor. He was trying to help evacuate residents, but he hasn't come out." The words hit like a punch. I looked down at Rex, who was already alert, his ears perked up and nose twitching as if he understood every word. "You up for one more, buddy?" I asked, though I already knew his answer. He gave a sharp bark, his tail wagging once in determination. We headed back toward the building, the heat radiating from the structure like a living thing. As we re-entered, the smoke was thicker, the air hotter, and the danger greater than before. Every instinct told me to turn back, but Rex's unwavering focus pushed me forward. "Find him, Rex," I commanded. And he immediately went to work, his powerful nose cutting through the smoke to pick up the faintest scent. We moved quickly through the maze of hallways, the sound of crackling flames growing louder with each step. Rex stopped suddenly, his body stiffening as he let out a low bark. He pawed at a door to our right, his nose pressed against the bottom. I tested the handle. It was hot, but not locked. "Stand back," I said, kicking it open. Inside, a man lay unconscious on the floor, his body limp and covered in soot. Rex darted forward, nuzzling the man's face and barking to try to wake him. I quickly crouched down, checking for a pulse. It was faint, but he was alive. "We've got him," I said, relief flooding through me. But the building groaned ominously above us, the ceiling starting to sag. "We need to move, now." I hoisted the man over my shoulder, the weight almost unbearable in the sweltering heat. Rex stayed close, his eyes darting between me and the door, as if urging me to hurry. As we stepped back into the hallway, a deafening crack echoed through the air, and part of the ceiling collapsed behind us, cutting off our path to the main exit. My stomach dropped. We were trapped. Smoke billowed around us, and the heat was suffocating. I looked at Rex, my mind racing. "We need another way out," I said, coughing as I struggled to breathe. Rex seemed to understand. He turned and bolted down the hallway, pausing at a door I hadn't noticed before. He barked sharply, his body pressed against it. I followed, kicking it open to reveal a set of stairs leading down to the basement. It wasn't ideal, but it was our only option. With Rex leading the way, we descended into the dark, smoke-filled space, searching for an exit. My lungs burned, my vision blurred, but Rex's steady presence kept me moving. Finally, we found a back door, the cool night air bursting in as I pushed it open. We stumbled out into the alley, where a group of firefighters rushed to help us. The man was whisked away on a stretcher, and I collapsed onto the pavement, coughing and gasping for air. Rex sat beside me, his tongue lolling out as he panted heavily. I pulled him close, burying my face in his fur. "You did it, buddy," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "You saved him." The firefighters approached, one of them kneeling down to pet Rex. "He's a hero," the man said, his voice filled with awe. I nodded, my chest swelling with pride and gratitude. But as I looked at Rex, I noticed something that made my heart sink. He was limping, his movements slow and unsteady. The toll of the mission had caught up with him, and for the first time I saw the vulnerability behind his strength. "Let's get you checked out," I said, scooping him into my arms despite his size. Rex rested his head against my chest, his eyes closing as exhaustion overtook him. He had given everything, just as he always did. What I didn't realize was that this mission would be his last. And his most unforgettable. The ride to the veterinary hospital felt like an eternity. Rex lay quietly in the back seat, his head resting on my jacket, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. I kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and helplessness. He had been through so much tonight, more than anyone could have asked of him. But now it was my turn to fight for him. When we arrived, the veterinary staff rushed to our aid, lifting Rex gently onto a stretcher and wheeling him inside. "He's a hero," I said to the vet, my voice cracking. "Do whatever you can for him." The waiting room was silent except for the ticking of a wall clock. My hands trembled as I replayed the events of the night in my mind. The fire, the rescue, the way Rex had pushed through exhaustion and pain to save that man. He had always been a fighter, but now, his fight was in someone else's hands. After what felt like hours, the vet emerged, her expression kind but serious. "Rex is stable for now," she said, "but he suffered significant smoke inhalation and strain on his heart. We'll do everything we can, but it's critical that he rests." Relief washed over me, but it was tempered by a deep sense of worry. I nodded, thanking her before stepping into the room where Rex lay. He was hooked up to monitors, his body still and quiet. I sat beside him, my hand resting on his fur. "You've always been the strongest one," I whispered. "Now it's my turn to be strong for you." The next few days were a blur of vet visits and quiet nights at home. Rex's strength wavered, but his spirit remained unbroken. He would wag his tail faintly when I walked into the room, his eyes lighting up at the sound of my voice. I stayed by his side as much as I could, knowing every moment was precious. Then one evening, something changed. Rex struggled to stand, his legs trembling beneath him. I knelt beside him, wrapping my arms around his body to steady him. "What is it, buddy?" I asked softly. His eyes met mine, and, in that moment, I knew. He wasn't in pain, but he was tired. So tired. I called the vet, tears streaming down my face, as I described what was happening. She arrived quickly, her presence calm and reassuring. "You've given him a life full of love and purpose," she said. "Now, it's time to let him go with dignity." The words shattered me, but I knew she was right. Rex had given everything, his strength, his loyalty, his unwavering love. It was my turn to give him peace. We set up a quiet space in the backyard, under the oak tree where Rex loved to rest. My family gathered around, each of us taking a moment to say goodbye. Noah knelt beside Rex, his small hand resting on the dog's paw. "You're the bravest dog ever," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Thank you for saving us." I held Rex close, pressing my forehead to his as I whispered through my tears. "You've been my partner, my protector, my best friend. I don't know how I'm going to do this without you, but I promise I'll never forget you." As the vet administered the medication, Rex's breathing slowed, his body relaxing in my arms. His eyes closed, and he let out one final, peaceful sigh. The world seemed to stop, the silence heavy and profound. Rex was gone. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. The house felt emptier without the sound of his paws on the floor or his quiet presence by my side. But even in his absence, Rex's legacy was everywhere. The man he had saved visited us, bringing flowers and a heartfelt letter of gratitude. The department honored Rex with a small ceremony, recognizing his bravery and sacrifice. And then one day I found a box on my porch. Inside was a small plaque with an engraving. "In loving memory of Rex, a true hero, forever in our hearts." I placed it under the oak tree, where Rex had found his final rest. As I sat there, looking up at the sky, I felt a sense of peace. Rex had given me everything, a lifetime of love and loyalty, and a final lesson in what it means to live with courage and purpose. "Thank you, buddy," I whispered, a tear sliding down my cheek. "For everything." The days after Rex's passing were filled with a quiet emptiness, but also an overwhelming outpouring of support from those whose lives he had touched. The family we had rescued from the fire came by with flowers and a handwritten card. The little girl who had been trapped hugged me tightly, whispering, "Thank you for saving us." Rex was the best dog ever. I nodded, holding back tears. "He was," I said softly. "He really was." The department organized a small memorial for Rex, a chance for everyone to honor his years of service. Officers from across the precinct gathered, many of whom had worked with Rex on missions over the years. Stories were shared, tales of his incredible tracking skills, his bravery in test situations, and his uncanny ability to sense danger before it struck. When it was my turn to speak, I found myself overcome with emotion. Standing in front of a crowd of colleagues and friends, I looked down at the small urn that held Rex's ashes. "Rex wasn't just a partner," I began, my voice trembling. "He was a part of my family. He taught me what it means to be loyal, to be brave, and to always show up for the people who need you." Even in his last moments, Rex gave everything he had to save lives. He was a hero in every sense of the word. The crowd fell silent, many wiping away tears. When the ceremony ended, I walked to the oak tree in my backyard, the place where Rex had loved to rest, and placed the urn at its base. Beside it, I set the plaque the department had given me, inscribed with the words, "Rex, a hero's legacy." As the days turned into weeks, I found myself thinking more and more about Rex's impact, not just on me, but on everyone who had the privilege of knowing him. I began volunteering at the local animal shelter, helping to train rescue dogs to work in law enforcement. Every time I saw a dog show that same spark of determination and loyalty that Rex had, my heart swelled with pride. One day, as I was leaving the shelter, a young officer approached me. He had been at Rex's memorial and had heard about his heroic last mission. "I just wanted to say thank you," he said. "Rex's story inspired me to join the K9 unit. I hope one day I'll have a partner as incredible as he was." I smiled, feeling a mix of sadness and gratitude. "You will," I said. "Just remember to trust them, and they'll give you everything they've got." Rex's legacy didn't end with his passing. It lived on in the lives he had saved, the people he had inspired, and the lessons he had taught me. He had shown me that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act despite it. And love, true love, leaves an imprint that time can never erase. One evening, as I sat beneath the oak tree, the setting sun casting golden light over the yard, I felt a sense of peace. I looked up at the sky, imagining Rex running free, his tail wagging and his ears perked up, ready for his next adventure. "You're still with me, buddy," I whispered. "Always." Months had passed since Rex's final mission, but his memory remained as vivid as ever. Every corner of my home held reminders of him. His leash hanging by the door, his favorite blanket neatly folded on the couch, and the plaque beneath the oak tree in the backyard. Each item was a testament to a bond that had shaped my life in ways I was only beginning to understand. One afternoon, while volunteering at the animal shelter, I met a German shepherd named Duke. He was younger than Rex had been, but his sharp eyes and alert posture reminded me of my old partner. Duke had been rescued from a difficult situation, and though he was wary of new people, there was a quiet strength about him that drew me in. Over the next few weeks, I spent more time with Duke, training him and earning his trust. He wasn't Rex, no dog ever could be. But there was something about him that felt familiar. Almost as if Rex had left a piece of himself behind to guide me forward. One day, as we worked together in the training yard, Duke surprised me. I had thrown a ball across the field, expecting him to fetch it as usual, but instead, he stopped halfway, turned, and barked sharply at me. It was the same commanding bark Rex used to give when he had found something important. I froze, my chest tightening with emotion. "Good boy, Duke," I whispered, my voice trembling. "You're going to do great things." Duke's progress inspired me to start a program dedicated to training rescue dogs for service work. With the help of the shelter, I began pairing dogs like Duke with veterans, first responders, and families in need. It felt like the perfect way to honor Rex's legacy, to give other dogs the chance to make a difference, just as he had. The first graduation ceremony for the program was a small but emotional event. As I watched the dogs and their new partners step forward to receive their certifications, I felt a deep sense of pride. One of the veterans, a man named Jack who had been struggling with PTSD, approached me with tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he said, his voice breaking. "This dog saved my life." I don't know how to put it into words, but he gave me a reason to keep going. I nodded, tears welling up in my own eyes. "I know exactly what you mean," I said. "Rex did the same for me." Later that evening, I returned home and sat beneath the oak tree, the cool breeze carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers. I looked up at the stars, thinking about everything Rex had taught me about loyalty, courage, and the power of love. His life had been a testament to what it meant to serve selflessly, to protect without hesitation, and to leave the world a better place. As I sat there, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't expected. Rex's journey had ended, but his impact would continue to ripple through the lives he had touched, including mine. And though I missed him every day, I knew his legacy would never fade. "Thank you, Rex," I whispered into the night, a soft smile on my lips. "For everything." A gentle rustling in the leaves above me made me look up, and for a brief moment, I could have sworn I saw a shadow move. a figure with 4 legs, watching over me from the branches. I chuckled softly, wiping a tear from my cheek. "You're still here," I said. "I'll make sure the world remembers you." As the night deepened, I stood and made my way back inside, Duke trotting faithfully at my side. Life was moving forward, and though the chapter with Rex had ended, his story was far from over. His courage, loyalty, and love would live on in every dog that followed in his footsteps, and in every heart he had touched. Rex's story is a reminder that true loyalty and love never fade. His bravery, his sacrifices, and his unwavering bond with me changed my life forever. Though he's no longer here, his legacy continues through every dog that steps up to serve, protect, and love unconditionally. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration today. Let's honor the memory of dogs like Rex and celebrate the incredible bond we share with our 4-legged heroes. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had a dog that left a lasting impact on your life? Share your stories in the comments below. We'd love to celebrate their legacy with you. Together, let's keep the love for these amazing companions alive. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another heartfelt story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.